thanks for joining me today. We are going to be making a big fan favorite in this household, crunchy ramen noodle stir fry. Super easy, great after work and after school meal to make. So weekday friendly for sure. I have all my ingredients laid out here and ready to go. I have a block of tofu that I've dried off. I have my bag of coleslaw. I have also cut up some broccoli. I'm definitely going to be juicing up this recipe with extra veg. I had some wilty broccoli sitting in the fridge, so I'm going to toss that in there. And then I've pre-made my sauce. It's very simple. Soy sauce, sesame oil, a little bit of sugar. You can leave the sugar out. You can put the sugar in, whatever your preference is. I'm using coconut sugar. Sometimes I use coconut aminos as a substitute for soy sauce. And when I use coconut aminos instead of the soy sauce, I don't use any sugar because they're sweeter. All right, so here we go. Oh, I also have a couple bags of Mr. Noodles. Not healthy, but they add a really nice crunch to this recipe. And I don't know, sometimes I have them laying around the house. I don't even know how they got in here. And I like to use them up. They're also really cost effective. This whole meal can feed an entire family, and it's very, very cost effective and really easy to throw together. So let's get started. So we want a medium to medium high heat here. I've got a little bit of olive oil in the pan. If you are oil free, just add a little bit of water. So we're gonna let that heat up. So I've got my block of tofu here. It's been dried off and been sitting on my counter, so it doesn't really have a lot of moisture left in it. My favorite way to prepare tofu for this recipe is to kind of treat it like a scrambled egg. So I got that inspiration from like a pad thai or a fried rice, where there's a protein in it, but you can't really see it. It's mixed in with all the ingredients. So we're gonna use that same idea in this recipe. So we're gonna crumble up the tofu so it resembles a scrambled egg, and we're gonna pan fry it, just basically to warm it through, get a little bit of color on it. And then we're gonna throw our rest of ingredients in. You won't even notice it. You'll be too busy crunching on the noodles and enjoying the delicious sauce. But you get a nice hit of really cost-effective, healthy protein. So it's really easy. You're just gonna take the block of tofu, break it up with your hands right into the frying pan. Just kind of squish it in your fingers. It's oddly satisfying. So if you've ever cooked with tofu before, or you've watched our other recipes using tofu, tofu has no flavor. It's great. It's very similar to chicken in that. Like, most of us don't eat chicken plain. We add sauce, we add seasonings, because chicken on its own is super bland. And that's the same thing with tofu. Tofu on its own, really bland. But tofu with sauce and seasonings is really yummy because it tastes like the sauce. And as I mentioned before, tofu is a really healthy protein. It has no cholesterol, so like you would get with animal proteins. No added sodium, none of those things that you have to worry about. Okay, so we've got that in the pan. I'm just gonna add some pepper. I always like to season everything at every level. I'm not gonna add salt today because the soy sauce has tons of salt in it. We don't wanna go extra heavy on our sodium. So we're just gonna let this start sizzling. Pan wasn't really that hot, so it's a slow start. Definitely looking very much like scrambled eggs. So I'm gonna add some garlic that I have chopped up. And if you happen to have ginger, fresh ginger would be perfect here. Just grab like a ginger root and grate it, probably about 1 tablespoon, and toss it in. So yummy. So we're just gonna let the garlic aromatize. We don't want to let it burn. Now, because I'm adding extra veg to this, I'm gonna toss my broccoli in the pan right now. You can also add peas or edamame or cauliflower, carrots, celery, anything that you would add to a stir fry. green peppers, red peppers, anything you have kicking around in your fridge. This is a perfect recipe to use up vegetables that are kind of on their last legs. Because once you get it in the frying pan and you get it covered in your sauce, they just taste the same anyway. So I'm gonna add in my broccoli and let that cook a little bit before I add in all my cabbage. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and toss the cabbage on. I have 2 bags here, but that's not gonna fit at the moment. So I'm gonna let this kind of cook down a little bit. Great way to wilt the cabbage is just to put a lid on it for a few minutes and the steam will wilt it. So the cabbage is perfect to my liking. It's still got a little bit of a crunch to it. I don't like it too mushy. So I'm gonna add the sauce. And just, actually I'm gonna whisk it a little bit, make sure it's well combined. Gonna add the sauce and mix it around. Just to make sure it's warmed through. And then I'm gonna add my noodles. So make sure that you take out your sauce package, throw it away. Nobody needs that. Your noodles right on top. Now, I know with this recipe, some people like to cook their noodles first because they don't like them crunchy. Totally feel free to do that. If you want to leave the noodles long and just cook them first and then put them in so it's actually like a noodle stir fry, go right ahead. If you don't want to use ramen noodles like Mr. Noodles, what I would recommend is that you sub a rice noodle. So a rice noodle looks like, I have some. It's already an open package, but looks like this. So these are rice noodles that I would sub instead. And what I would do is cook them first. So how I cook my rice noodles is I take a big bowl, I put my noodles in, and then I fill it with hot water just out of the tap. I just get my water as hot as I can out of the tap, and then I just move them around until they're soft. Usually it takes about the same amount of time as me cooking my stir fry. And then I just toss them in. So rice noodles are gluten-free, so that's a great option if you are a gluten-free family. All right, that's it. We're done. It's ready to eat. It's so delicious. I hope you enjoy.